Alright, first and foremost, I want to give all the honors and praises and glory belongs to Yahweh by Sham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Wahavakar, Quadash. The name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. Son's name is Yahweh Shai, and who I reverence, and honors to the apostles that are in the Holy Spirit, and to the hopeful elect across the globe, and to the few, the very few brothers and sisters that are listening and also learning in the hopes of being saved within these last days. And I want to say Tawadi Yahweh by Sham Yahweh Shai for allowing me to minister to the elect. This lesson is going to be based on the northern tribes. Yes, they are Israelites, because you still got a lot of contention. You still got a lot of people that say, well, how? We're gonna go into the scriptures. This is going to be a, Lord willing, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm moving in haste. Right? So we're going to start off on 2 Kings, Baba Kasha. And we're going to get straight to the point. And let's jump straight to verse 23. And this was in the time of after Solomon's passing. Who did you have? Jeroboam, Rehoboam, which represents a splitting of the tribes. Right? Because after Solomon, we know he went off. What happened? Everything went haywire. Okay? And there was a splitting. Okay? Between the tribes. So this is verse 23. Unto the Lord Yahweh removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their own land, which is Israel, to Assyria unto this day. So this shows you still got our people in the land of Assyria to this day. And the land of Assyria, where would that be today? Iraq, ancient Babylon. Okay? If you know anything about geography, it'd be ancient Babylon. Okay? So excuse me just a minute. Because everything we're saying we can back up. Because a man may or a woman may ask you, well, how do you know the northern tribes, the so-called Native Americans, the so-called Hispanics? Can you show me that they're on this side? Alright? Excuse me just a minute. Multitasking there. Oh man. Alright, let's quickly get this. Okay. So we're going to go to 2 Kings, jump straight to verse 17 and 23. And it says, so Israel was carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. So we have Israelites that are in the land of Iraq today. Right? So even amongst them Iraqis, not all, some, you have our people, the northern tribes. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon. And the king of Assyria at that time, who was it? Ashahadadan and Sargon, right? From Babylon, from Kuta, from Ava, from Hamath, and from Zavarian. And placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. So it lets us know they were placed in Israel, because by this time Israel was taken out into the land of Assyria. And why does it say he took men from Babylon and Kuta? Because who ruled Babylon? It was the Assyrians, right? That took down what? The Babylonians. And the original Babylonians were what? Cushites. Okay? Which going back to Nimrod. Well, Nimrod was at Assyria, but he took down what? The so-called African tribes, right? And it says from Hamath to Zavarium, these are what? Cushites. These are Hamites. And placed him in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, and he possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. I'm going to quickly go to these nations to back up what we're saying. Baba Kasha, Baba Kasha. Because this is an important part of our history. And the people, they want to know, well, how are their tribes on the side? You know, see if we can quickly get this. Ah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's look at these regions. Quickly go to Qatar. Kuf, it says crushing, Kuf, it doesn't say Kut, a place from which King Sargon and Assyria imported colonists into Israel, right? 32 kilometers, miles northeast of Babylon, right? So it even gives you the account where King Sargon imported colonists, okay, which would be the other nations, into the land, into Israel. But they removed the northern tribes. So the northern tribes are currently, yes, in Israel, right? Samaria, okay, but they were placed into Assyria, a foreign land, okay? And from Ava, type in Ava, Baba Kasha. Ava equals ruin. A city conquered by the Assyrians, Ava, and placed them, excuse me just a minute, go into Hamath as well. Hamath, principal city of Upper Syria, equals fortress. So they conquered all these regions, and from Samaria and placed them in the city of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, because this is where the northern tribes resided. And Samaria equals what? Watch Mountain, the region of northern Palestine, associated with the northern kingdom of the 10 tribes of Israel, which split from the kingdom after the death of Solomon during the reign of Rehoboam and were ruled by Jeroboam, the capital city of the northern kingdom of Israel. So that was their main city. North of Jerusalem, 6 miles to from northwest of Shechem. So it tells you right here. Right, so let's continue. Baba Kashar. So the northern tribes are natives. Their land wasn't originally America. It was Israel. So when you look at the natives and the northern tribes, the original land is Israel. And there's proof of them wearing garments, the borders of blue, which is a sign they're Israelites. Okay? And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there, right? So it was the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord. This is speaking about the other nations that were moved into the region of Samaria. Therefore the Lord Jehovah sent lions among them, which slew some of them. And why were them lions slewing them? Because they were not learning the laws. They just moved in, and it was a very, very, very serious thing back then to be in the land of Israel and to not keep the laws. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, which was King Sargon, the nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria, okay, which would be what? The Cushites, know not the manner of the Most High of the land. Therefore he sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the power of the land. That's why they were getting ate by lions. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, excuse me, carry thither one of the priests, which are Israelites, whom he brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there. So we had to go back to, where was it? To Assyria, get the priest and bring him back to Samaria to teach the people the law of the land, really the law of the Most High. And let him teach them the manner of the Most High of the land. When one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord Yahweh Yahushai. How about every nation made gods of their own, but they still were doing that. Even though they were taught the law, they were still worshipping idols in secret, and put them in their houses of the higher places which the Samaritans had made. Every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon made Succoth, Benoth, the men of Kuf made Negal, the men of Hamath made Ashima. So they were still given to idols. And the Avites made Nebaz, Tartak, and Savites burnt their children in fire. So they were practicing those customs of child sacrifice. And in fire to Adramelech. Malek means king. And that same idol today is known as Molech. Right? Which the Americans, the elites and the lower luminaries, where did they go to? Somewhere in California, and they sacrifice in the Bohemian Grove to these same idols. And the Hamalek, the gods of survival. So they feared the Lord, right, for a little time, and made unto themselves the lowest of them priests of the high places. And this is where you have that term what do you call it, Falasha Jews, which are so-called Ethiopians, that actually thought they were Jews, which sacrificed for them in the house of the higher places, right? They feared the Lord and served their own gods. So while they were doing that, they were still had their own gods in their households, after the manner of the nations who they carried away thenceforth. Okay, unto this day they do after the former manners, they fear not the Lord, Yahweh shall neither do after their statutes, or after the ordinance of after the law and the commandment which the Lord commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named. So they had no choice but to be taught the laws by what, an Israelite priest, because they were being ripped by lions. It's not that they wanted to, it's that they had to. Because the reason why they're being ripped up by lions, because they knew not the customs of the land. Okay, so that's why these things would happen. And that's why when you go into John, Baba Kasha, I think it's John 3. John 3, John 4, John 3. And go straight to it. This is John 4 and jump straight to 9. Then saith the woman Samaria unto him, how is it that thou being a Jew ask a drink of me, which I am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Right? So she was letting you know she was a Samaritan woman. And it was in the custom that we would have no deals with them. Right? Yahushua answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of the Most High, and who it is that saith unto thee, give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked of him, and he would have given thee the living water. Which is referring to the true water, which he was drawing water out of a well. That was not the living water. And the woman saith unto him, Sir, hast thou nothing to draw with? And the well is deep. From whence hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank of himself, and his children, and his cattle? Okay. So she actually thought she was an inhabitant of Jacob when she wasn't. And Yahushua answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall again thirst again. Alright. So again, and when you go to verse 20, she said, our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Why did she say her fathers worship in this mountain? Going back to the time of what? The Assyrians removing the children of Israel out of the land of Samaria and replacing them with what? Heathens. So that's why she was taught to believe that. That's why you ask a lot of people, or they may say to you, well, Jews, Falashas. Some Ethiopians, they may say, well, Falashas, because they were taught that in a time from what? King Sargon, when they were put in that land. Okay. So now we covered that. We're going to go to, where was it? The Apocrypha. Right? 2nd Ezra 13 and 39. Alright. I'm moving in haste with this lesson as well. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners. So it lets us know the northern tribes out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king. Right? So we were carried out, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive. So it was actually Slakia, it was actually Shalmaneser, right? At that time that led us captive. Okay? Because you had several kings when it came to the Assyrians. And the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, so they came into another land. Because some of them were transported to Assyria, and it's going to let us know. But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, which was in Assyria, and go forth into a further country where no mankind dwelt, and that land was known as America. Right? So they call it Assyrian. Right? But they might today keep their statues which they never kept in their own land. Right? So in America, were they still keeping the law, statutes? Yeah, they were still, the Native Americans were still keeping the laws, the statutes and commandments. And they entered into Euphrates, by the passages, the narrow passages. And so like pages are missing, it's a bit ripped out, and the Most High then showed. So lucky about that. And it says, then the Most High then showed them in hell still the flood, and they passed over through all the country. There was a great way to go, namely of a year, so it took them a long time and a half. In the same region is called Asareth, and that was the land of America, so it also tells you how long it took them to get there. When dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. Right, and the highest, that's it on that. Is it on that? Is it on that here? Just a minute. Yes, so that's it on that. So guess what? They went from Samaria to Assyria, and some of them stayed in Assyria, and some of them left Assyria to go into the land of what? Asareth, which no man dwelt there. Right? So basically, yes, the Native Americans were also the founding fathers of America. That's why they're called Native Americans, but they're really native to Israel. Okay, so this basically explains it all. Because you have individuals with seducing, reprobate spirits on them that have been in the truth longer than me, even certain leaders, but they don't believe that the northern tribes are Israelites. Why? Because it wasn't given to them. That's why. So with that, let's go to Ezekiel. Let me shut off. It also talks about the one stick, Ezekiel 37 and 17. Alright, let's go straight to it. Start at 15. And the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick. Would you bear me just a minute? Get this on deck. And this is why it's so important to know geography and historical accounts as well. One stick. Would you bear me just a minute? Take the one stick, and the stick is going to explain what it is. And that stick is likened unto timber, all right, wood, right. For me, it's cardboard, and you write upon the sign, okay, and write upon it. What are you writing upon it? The tribes for Judah, and for the children of Israel, his companions. And you know what it says, and for the children of Israel, his companions. Because remember, there was a separation, Rehoboam, Jeroboam. Then take another stick and write upon them for Joseph. Right? Joseph would represent what? Northern tribes. And the stick of Ephraim for all the house of Israel and their companions. And join them one to another. Right? So you're joining the southern tribes and the northern tribes together into one stick. And it shall become one in thine hands. And that's where you get what? The charts. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, would I not show us what thou meanest by these? Because a lot of people ask, what's the sign about? Say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I will make one stick, the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim. Right? And the tribes of, and Ephraim represents, what tribe? Ephraim is so-called Puerto Ricans. And the tribes of Israel with his fellows. What's your fellow? Your brethren. And will put them with him, even a stick of Judah, and make them one stick. Right? And they shall be one in my hand. And Judah represents what? The so-called Negroes. Okay. But you have the southern tribes. The southern tribes is what? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Right? And this shows you that Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, when you talk about the transatlantic slave trade, that was way after the northern tribes. The northern tribes were basically, they were in captivity before the so-called Negroes. They were in captivity. So before Judah and the southern tribes came to the Americas, Gad was already there. Right? Gad was already there, waiting for them. Reuben was already there. So when you talk about slavery, the northern tribes were already in slavery way before Judah, because a lot of people like to say Judah, Negro, shackles. But the northern tribes were in slavery. Okay? And it says, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thine hands. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hands before their eyes, so they can see it. And that really, a lot of people gravitate towards it, that stick. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, wherever they be gone, and I will gather them, everyone on every side, and bring them into their own land, which is a fulfillment of prophecy. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of the house of Israel. And one king, and they shall be, it's like it, and one king shall be king to them all. And who was that king going to be? Yahushua, right? And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Because that breach was going to be what closed up the differences, all right? The differences between the so-called Puerto Ricans, right? So-called Ephraim and Judah. Them differences were going to be what? Healed up. And even between the tribes, because again, you still have this. You may have in the islands, you still got them, that separation. So-called Puerto Ricans might not like the Cubans, and the Cubans might not like the so-called Jamaicans. All them breaches are being closed up because we're one nation. Like that song, one nation under the moon. We're one nation. And that nation's being brought together through what? The words. Okay. So with this lesson, I really, really, really hope this was edifying. And this further proves that, yes, the northern tribes, those that you call Native Americans, they are Israelites. They are brothers and they are sisters. One tribe. Okay. So with this, I hope this was edifying. And until the next time, Shalom.